Hello again, everyone. Okay, so we're going to, as you can probably guess by the fact that there's a panel of amazing women up here with me, to move into the Breaking Barriers panel. And I know that we're going to hear lots of kind of inspiring insights into how we go about, how these wonderful women went about breaking barriers. But just kind of bringing it all together, I know that all of you, I could tell by the questions that you're asking, and certainly I really enjoyed the two talks in the first half by Debbie and Monal. And one of the things that struck me was that they were talks about themselves and their stories and their successes and where their individual journeys took them. And I'm sure that we're going to get more of that from the panel. And it made me think about the Aspiring Women Speakers course. And one of the things that Barry said to us as we were going through the course was the very best thing to talk about is the thing that you know the best, and that is your own story, what matters to you, your own journey. And I think we could really tell when we were listening to Debbie, when we were listening to Monal, how that personal story and the personal journey, and it really spoke to us all. And I know that we're going to have some more of the same. So I'm going to introduce you to the panel just now. And then we've got some questions and they've got some, no pressure, words of wisdom to share with you all. No, nothing as banal as answers. We're going with words of wisdom, nothing less. So going from your left. Will it be your left? Is this your left? Yeah. Okay, good. Nobody put left and right on my job description. I don't need to know that. Okay, so going from your left, we've got Rajani Rao. Rajani is a principal technologist at Aviva, designing scalable web and IoT solutions in the cloud. Outside of her profession, she's a mother of two girls, and we've heard a little bit about this, the director of Women Who Code London. She also serves as a fractional CTO at Winvest, committed to an inclusive financial ecosystem using AI. And she holds an advisory role at Pictuate, a female-led AI and machine learning startup. Further to the right. Is that right? That way is Rianat Shitu, or Ri. She's a DevOps enthusiast and engineering leader, currently working as a senior engineering manager and head of the tech grad program Turntable, a fintech based in Ghana and London, focusing on training and developing and deploying top-class associate software engineers to clients also in fintech spaces. Previously, she's been senior software developer, various organizations, and I'm going to name drop a myriad of huge organizations over the course of this panel. So I'm going to pick out Accenture and the Financial Times from Ree's past. She also holds a PhD in information security from the City University of London and enjoys traveling, learning human languages, and a bit of Lego kit building. Okay, in the middle. Zoe Cunningham, an award-winning technology professional and a director of Softwire Technology, which was voted the #1 best place to work in the UK in 2023. She won Business Leader of the Year at UK Women in IT Awards 2019, has been selected by the BBC as the brightest woman in Britain. I'm sure she knows her left from her right. Has published 3 books, including Galvanising the Geeks, The Tech Leader's Handbook for Inspiring Technical Teams. Zoe. Second from that end, Lubna Essa, With a stellar career, more name dropping of major national corporations here, Lubna has excelled in leadership roles at global giants like Google and Amazon. And beyond technical expertise, she's a strong advocate for women in engineering, leading initiatives that promote diversity and empowerment. And her professional journey is a harmonious blend, just like that page turn, of technical proficiency, leadership excellence, and a commitment to fostering inclusive and innovative spaces within the tech industry. Lubna. And far right, on the right, Cora Constantin, with an academic foundation in engineering. Cora has built a rich background in technology architecture in the telecommunications industry. She's passionate about leveraging technology to help businesses achieve sustained growth. And here at Visa, Cora works in the European CTO function, leading a small enterprise architecture practice. Cora. Okay, so because the event is all about breaking barriers, we're going to start with exactly that. So what personal barriers, Zoe, have you experienced? How did they hold you back? How did you smash through them?
So I'm going to start with the soundbite and then go on to my personal story, if it's okay to do it that way round. Because something that has come up for me time and time again is seeing in practice that we miss 100% of the goals we don't take. And I think that sounds like a very neat little saying. However, what I found in my career is that it's only by setting out to achieve that. It's only by sticking with it. It's not even the setting out. It's the sticking with it when the going gets tough and when you really start to doubt yourself and the 5 imposter syndrome pictures all pop up for you at once. It's sticking with it at that point. You can find years, because career also takes a long time, which has been mentioned several times already. You can find years later, you can kind of pivot back to a point and go, do you know what? If I didn't take that role, or if I didn't, if I didn't keep going down that path, I wouldn't be here 5 years later. And what's more, I would have this nagging doubt of maybe I couldn't have done it. And it's only by doing it that you find out that you can actually do it.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. And I think Rajani would probably follow on completely from that with some insight about ingrained belief.
Yeah. So for me, I think I come from India originally, and there are quite a few cultural differences. It's a hierarchical society, and for me, unlearning was the biggest thing. Unlearning the culturally ingrained belief that to be a leader, to be something you want to be, you need to have the role. Because you can't go beyond your remit, and if you did that in India, you'd be in trouble. And so there's a lot of unlearning which I had to do, which really helped. And this meant that now, for me, every time I'm in a situation, I ask myself this question: what would I do in my next role, right? So if I'm a principal engineer and I want to be the CTO, I want to be a CTO, an exceptional and kick-ass CTO, what would the kick-ass CTO do in this situation? So thereby, it forces you to think and act in your next role. And I think for me, if everyone followed this, you can be an engineer and do exactly this. Think like a leader every time. And if you did this, you will be, thinking and acting beyond your role. And soon enough, you will have that role easily.
Exactly, and I'm sure that we're going to hear 5 different flavours of something very similar, and I hope it's a message that really rings out and rings clear for you all through this. But Lubna, what personal barriers have you experienced?
I think for me, it's been the fact that I've been in the industry for over 10 years, and not once I've seen someone like me or someone who looks like me in a senior management role. And for me, that has been quite limiting and quite almost like disturbing, in a way that I go into a room full of mostly men all the time, and I have to fight for a particular project or a particular idea. And I would do that, and I would have varied levels of success. But at the end of the day, I do always come back to the fact that, okay, like no one here looks like me. And that has been quite challenging, giving me a lot of imposter syndrome a lot of the times. And I'm a pro at that, so we can probably chat about that later as well. So I think overcoming this barrier, for me, the only thing that has really worked is constantly sort of reminding myself that look at all these things that I've done. 'Cause even like when I used to work at Google, people used to be like, "Wow, that's amazing," and like I used to get a lot of these wows, and in my head I would say that yeah, everyone else who works at Google is smart. I don't know about me. But at the end of the day, I think it's reminding yourself that, look at all your achievements. I have a wonderful husband who keeps reminding me every single day that look at all these things you've done. And I think that's basically what helps me overcome that a lot of the times.
I think you've mentioned something that we're going to come back to in a later question. So, and we listen in your head. There was an EastEnders style dum, dum, that just happened then. But for now, Cora, have you come across anything that held you back?
Definitely. I think echoing Debbie's point as well, the greatest barrier in my career have been my own beliefs. I used to hold this belief that if I worked hard enough and if I did the best I could do, then my work would speak for itself, and that work alone was the only kind of predictor for success. And I think it doesn't help that our educational system conditions us that way. All of the kind of performance assessment methods that we employ, tests, exams, are all focused on individual work, on someone evaluating, do you know X or not, and to what degree. Well, actually, real life has very few comparison terms to that. There's no one who's going to audit your work. There's no one who's going to put a mark and say this is 89% perfect. What about the 11% remaining? It doesn't work like that. So for me, I think that the greatest kind of barrier was understanding that my work doesn't have a voice and it will not speak, not for itself or for anyone. And that there is something more to it. You can't go it alone, and you need the power of relationships, and sponsorship is one of the kind of secret ingredients in that, because there is no single evaluative process in this world that I know of that doesn't include a human subjective opinion, whether it's a promotion, an interview, anything, any selection interview. There is always a human element to it. And you don't go there with your portfolio and say, here's my portfolio, I'm just going to go to run now because it speaks for itself. I don't need to talk about it. We're done here. Look at it, how great it is. So you have to, I think we're all in the business of selling our ideas and of selling ourselves. If we can't sell our vision, if we can't sell, what is the way in which I can contribute or add value to an organization, then people will have to second guess, and that's not a good position to be in. So yeah, definitely myself.
And I think when we were talking about this before, Ree, you would build on that exact point, wouldn't you?
100%. So I'd say for me, it was really similar in the sense of like the things I would achieve, just down talking them, or someone saying, well, that was amazing. And me just being, well, it was nothing. It was easy. Black girl magic. Those things are not healthy when you do that to yourself. And then also just working super hard, expecting people to notice that you're working hard and to get that promotion, etc. And like one thing that I really like to highlight is that when you do that, actually it's counterproductive, because then when you don't get it, then you get upset and then you get bitter, you stop doing the hard work, or, you just get very upset, and it's counterproductive. So I found that for me was like, oh, okay, talk about what you've done. I don't have to brag, but just, state the facts, state the data. This is what I've done. So that's a really big one for me. And then, just stepping out of your comfort zone sometimes and just doing stuff. I'd say those are my personal barriers that I've overcome.
Thank you, and absolutely. Now, I've got some notes. The next question is about imposter syndrome, and I'm very conscious of keeping our hosts happy by not outstaying our welcome tonight. So I'm not going to go through it in lots of detail because I know that we've mentioned it, but just out of interest, if imposter syndrome is something, panelists, that has niggled or has held you back or you've had to think twice about, just raise your hand. In the audience, if imposter syndrome is something that has niggled or held you back or you've had to think twice about, raise your hand. Okay, now just take a look, keep your hands up, take a look around you. What are the chances that all those people with their hands up are frauds that don't deserve to be here? So the chances are, if all of those other people aren't frauds that don't deserve to be here, neither are you. Okay, so something completely different then. Have you come across any myths in leadership or management, or any pieces of advice that are probably just best with a big body swerve? Rajani.
So for me, it is being the infallible leader, right? Pitch perfect, perfectionists have to be expert at everything. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. And of course, if you have high expectations of yourself, what happens to the team? The team can see that and they put high expectations, and you have high expectations from everyone around you. And funnily enough, for me, this myth buster was when I became a mum. My children have taught me a lot of great things, and I'm a better human being thanks to them. But in this context, I watched how the children just, like, if you give them a puzzle, they get the wrong one, they get the wrong one, and then they get the right one, and then they get the wrong one, and they repeat it until they get it right? And no one, like, I haven't seen a baby who's just like stood up and started walking without falling. I want to see that baby if there is one. I'm sure there is an exception. But the point is, like, kids don't know about failures. One day, I was sad that I failed something. I don't even remember what I failed. So my husband was saying, "Oh, don't worry about it." And my daughter, like, she overheard and she's like, "Mama, what's failure?" And that made me think. I was like, crikey. and all of that summed together, I thought, there's no point in having these high expectations from ourselves. And yeah, just take, like, embrace failures, take small steps at a time, one step at a time. Don't get overwhelmed, and just keep consistently going that direction. And when you look back, you would have seen the amount of achievement you've gone through. So for me, that was a myth, to be like an expert and a perfectionist and everything else. And you don't need to be, honestly.
This one is for Lubna, about another myth, about maybe, do we need to hear from leaders in every meeting or every conversation?
Yeah, for sure. I think this one's quite close to me because I used to always think that, okay, if I am leading this project or a team, then I need to know everything, as you said, and also I need to answer all the questions and speak up every time and make sure I tell everyone that I'm, the leader here, and everyone should know that. But in reality, that is absolutely not true. And I think what I've learned is to harness the power of silence a little bit more, to give space just for silence, and also for other people to think about that particular problem, and then maybe give it a week or a month, and then you would automatically start seeing results or solutions coming out from different people, and that would be much better than you saying something in the start. So I think just going a little bit slower and keeping a little bit more quiet and listening a little bit more is something that I think is quite a wonderful skill to have.
Very, very much underrated, I think, isn't it? And Cora, this is the callback moment. So, what's the myth that's your pet peeve?
So for me, the one that I keep hearing at almost, I think, every single Women in Tech conference that I attend is, you can't be what you can't see. Hands up if you've heard that before. Do you believe that if humankind held that belief to be true, where do you think we'll be now? There will be no pioneers, there will be no evolution, there will be no progress, there will be no firsts, because everyone said, well, if I can't see it, then I can't do it, and that's it, I'll just stay here where I am, and this is my kind of my ceiling. So my view is that you can't be what you can't imagine. And to Manal's point earlier, we build ourselves not by an exact replica of someone we admire, that we emulate how they dress, how they look, how they speak, we pick small pieces of things that resonate with us, of people's experiences, of their approach, of the way they think, and we create this unique personal mosaic of tiny little pieces, of little inspirational parts of all the people that we know, meet, read about, heard about, and so on. So I do believe that it's really disempowering to say to people, you can't be what you can't see, because so many of the people who have literally written history have done just that. And I believe we are ambitious enough to do that, and we can. So I would challenge ourselves to not let our imagination bound our possibilities.
Completely. And when you first hear, maybe you'd think that what Lubna said and what Cora said contradict one another. But I think the more I think about it, the more that I think the opposite is true. And what Lubna, when you're saying often you're the only person in a room that looks like you, that has lived your experiences, and Cora, when you're saying you absolutely can be what you can't see, we've almost got the embodiment there, haven't we? That we're seeing kind of success on the right of the line in both those situations, and it's two sides of the same coin. Okay, I've been shuffling my papers and I've now got no idea what we're up to. So we're now playing random 8-ball with the questions. No, I found it. Okay, so we've talked about maybe some challenges, myths, hurdles. Let's look at the other side of the coin as we kind of round out our session this evening. Lubna, have you had any eureka moments?
I have a very silly one. So a few years ago, I used to be so naive. I used to think that career trajectories are a straight line. Everyone starts as an engineer, junior engineer, then mid-level engineer, senior engineer, manager, senior manager, and CTO. That's how everyone goes, and that's the standard. That's how I will go, but that's the norm. But then I had this realization that actually that is not true. Everyone has their own journey. Some people do junior engineer, senior engineer, CTO, and then, something else completely, like a yoga instructor. Or some people would just go to senior engineer and they're like, I am happy here. I don't want to do anything else. Like I have a very good friend, 55 years old. He's a senior engineer and just doesn't want to change that at all. And that's what his happy journey is like. And so there, I have so many examples now of so many different types of career journeys, and which I didn't know before. So I think that was mind blowing to me when I figured it out, which is silly. But I feel like everyone should know this from the start, but I didn't. So
I think that's the wiggly line that Debbie was talking about before, isn't it? Cora, what do you know now that you wish you knew then?
Definitely the power of networks, I would say. You can't go alone. And the fact that you can only connect the dots by looking back. I think, navigating your career is a bit like being in a maze with lots of twists and turns. And there are potentially multiple ways out and multiple ways to different destinations. And maybe by the time you get to the middle, you think, oh, actually, I quite like it in here. I really want to hang around here and spend more time in this area. So I think it's also keeping an open mind and allowing those, moments of serendipity to surprise you, because you will happen to be the right person at the right time in the right place for something truly amazing. And you'll only know it was amazing once you look back and you think, oh my goodness, that was so fluky. How lucky was that? And the thing is, you create your own luck, by generating or trying to increase the probability of your luck by going out there. Don't be the nerd in the corner of the room like I used to be when I was a junior engineer, and me and the server, I'm going to code and I don't need to talk to people because servers are, I know the input, I know the output, people are unpredictable. You can't go it alone. And sometimes, to go to the next level, you need to realize that what got you here won't get you there. If you're the best engineer ever, once you get a leadership role, you can't hang on to the work and do it yourself because you think that only you can do it perfectly. You have to learn other skills and other traits, and allowing yourself to unlearn, like it's been mentioned before, and to keep an open mind and enjoy the ride.
Thank you. And Zoe, what about you? What do you know now that you wish you'd known before?
So when I was about 20, I did one of those quizzes that you get in magazines because they're awesome and obviously tell you the truth on everything. And this quiz said it categorized your beliefs into whether you believed that powerful others control the world, whether you control the world, or whether chance controls the world. And I was quite proud of my answers at the time because I was very, very low on powerful others. I was like, no, it's not powerful others that rule the world. But I was very high on chance and very low on believing that what I did made a difference. And now, obviously, I'm not in any way saying that chance and powerful others do not play a role in your life. But what I learned that that totally changed my career was pushing as hard as I could on the things that I controlled. And I learned a word for it as well. It's called having a belief in your own self-efficacy. And I went from having an appraisal every year where I said, I want to be a manager. And they said, well, you've got all these things to work on. And every year it's like my career was inching upwards. And then after I started, looking at everything in a new way and thinking, what can I do differently? How can I affect this? I went to achieving the goals that I set out in my it was called a personal development report at the time, but the appraisal that everyone has. And I was so surprised by the change that I realized I was actually setting my goals too low, and I was finding I was achieving my goals within like a few months, which encouraged me to set higher goals, etc., etc. And that was how I became managing director of the company, which, back to my other point, is something that I wouldn't have believed possible unless I'd started down the route that got me there.
Totally. And the very last word of wisdom, Bree, this is your chance to leave some short and sweet words of wisdom for our audience to take away. What do you know now?
That is no pressure at all.
No,
I'm
no
gonna
pressure.
try. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna say, enjoy the season. I don't think I enjoyed the earlier seasons for me. When I was a junior software developer, little story, I had just finished my PhD and I was trying to get a job. And everyone was like, well, okay, yeah, we know we've got a PhD, but you don't have any experience. So I took a junior role. And I did not tell my African parents that I took a junior role. I was just like, I'll just take it. And everything I did at the time was to get out of that role. I want the promotion. I don't think I enjoyed the early stages. I always saw my glass as half full, and I really think that we should just, for me, it's just enjoying the stage that I'm in, maximizing it, learning what I want to learn, contributing what I can contribute at every stage. Because career is a long time. And I think that's the best piece of advice my mentor gave me. Your career is a long time. And so just enjoying each of those seasons. When I was a junior developer, I almost associated it with being a bad developer, and they're not the same. You can be an excellent junior developer. And for me, those, really good nuggets.
Completely. So there we are. Through the eyes and via the experience of the panel and of our speakers, we've heard about breaking down barriers, whether they're internal or external, that we might encounter through our own individual journeys to principle, but through serendipity and courage and patience and hard work and belief in ourselves, showcasing that our skills to others, and by appreciating the journey as we go, we can and we will break those barriers. So thank you very much to the panel.